Okay, we are on.
Yes.
Hello, Revision.
Hello.
So we have some technical problems, unfortunately. So the idea was that I would do a bit of live coding and we're switching back and forth like every few minutes to see my progress. Unfortunately, we can't manage to mix multiple HDMI streams. So we are doing it like this. I will quickly show how I'm starting, what the editor looks like, just briefly because greippi goes into detail in his presentation. And yeah, then we switch the working HDMI cable to his computer. He will present his slides, and then at the end we might hopefully see something. I'm not a live coder, so it's going to be interesting if I yeah, manage to bring something sensible to screen, but I'm quite confident.
And I just started a live coder candidate. It's Mob2 and I'm greippi. And what we are going to do is gather together some ideas, inspiration, new tools. It's quite a lot for 40 minutes. But due to the difficulties, we will switch back and forth just once.
Yeah, so let me quickly explain what we are seeing here. So this is the tool we have. And as you can see, there's a big editor pane where you just enter your code. It's Lua code because we want to get some young people to do Amiga, and apparently young people like Lua for whatever reason. I don't like it, but it is what it is. So yeah, you see some code over there. On the right-hand side, we have some resources pane. So you can import index PNGs into the editor and then use them from the Lua code. In the example I'm about to code, we will not use that, but just know that something like this is there. So you can import bobs and sprites and also raw data. And this is a super in development version. So as you can see, active copper list is what we had before, that we would return an array of copper lists. But nowadays it's just the raw memory. So what Copper Showdown is doing under the hood is replacing the full Amiga chip memory. As you can see in the log pane, yeah, you basically have the full chip memory available, and yeah, whatever you code in Lua will result in the actual raw Amiga memory and then being swapped out into the emulator in the background. Yeah. And I think that's it from my side for now. greippi will now start his presentation.
Yes, we will change. I did this. Oh, it's short. Oh, okay. So something about the history and the rest of it. I have not done live coding, basically. Well, party coding is different from live coding. So I wanted to make a little peek what it is. Our little trick to change the HDMI did not quite work out.
The workaround is not working.
Maybe. So is there a lot of musicians in the audience? Okay. Because I see some similarities with live coding and improvising music. So they might give ideas from. Oh, again, welcome to the Holy Shrine. And Kuparinäytösottelu-editori. That's what it is. So the idea came something like 12 months ago. Well, it was obviously the previous revision. At the beer tent, we had a few, that's honest. And the idea that Amiga does not have a showdown tool, or there's something like that, but always the turnover time is quite long. So it's we wanted to give it a go. And this, of course, required a dedicated editor. And then we had to choose the scripting language. I've been building my own language, which is not ready. Sorry to put a little commercial here, because it's not that easy. There seems to be always mistakes. So we took something that is reliable and well-known and well-supported. There was an earlier version where we had FSUIA, and that this version was not updated anymore. So we had to change the emulator part, and things got more simpler. It was a pretty good choice. Basic facts, just quickly picked on a train. And I got provoked by the word improvised, because what is improvising? And performing arts, creativity. So how could we learn and use and somehow like experiment with Amiga thoughts? Of course, this applies to on anything that you're up to. Then programming is somewhat always based on problem solving. And at Evoke, last year's Evoke party, there was this beginner's guide to Picotron seminar where there was, I really liked the definition of 3 different kinds of problems. And it's quite likely that demo scene problems are the fun problems. Then I came up with my own version of dividing problems to something else, and combined it with this timeline thing. So you might have problems which don't have any timelines. You can solve them as for any time range of period of time, and that means the forever projects. I guess we all have some of them on the hard drive. Then there are the rule-based competition, like events, where we would probably go with this Copper Showdown tool, like the Showdown and all these other. And then I thought that there's also the constantly going on. For example, this presentation is rather constantly present and requires constant solving things. And yeah. But if we come back to the improvisation, there's no really possibility to say when it has started. I think every creative process requires improvisation. There are patterns, because we tend to use the past knowledge to find new solutions, and we also follow what the others are doing and learn from that. So then all this information may influence in your improvisation methods and content. Yeah, I'm a fond of free jazz, because it's so chaotic music that it settles my mind. And even in free jazz, there seems to be patterns. It's somehow obvious. Maybe some performance, it just can't go on and on. And of course, improvisation is not fit for everything. But I'm sure it might help to find new ideas and that. Then to the retro computers. I would say that C64 is my mighty machine because it has so few transistors and it can do so much. Of course, this is for about Amiga. These are rough estimates, but I thought I figured out how many transistors these computers have about. Memory takes most of it, usually. Since Amiga is now mentioned, oh well, a little bit of live coding history. I had to figure out, because back in the day, in the demo scene, there was these fast intro competitions. And for example, at Assembly 92, I think there was already some. But the big difference there is that fast intro competition is not available for the audience. And the showdown is based on the fact that you can see how the code develops and how the effects change and so. The shaded showdown format. Yeah, this information I didn't know, but I figured it out. Originated from Poland, and revision. Well, you know it better. That it's been here for many times and in many forms. And also for the old computers, ZX Spectrum Battle and Amos Professional Battle. These have been applied. I think Amos Professional Battle has been held in Sweden, at least. Now, if I guess, there's some people who know Amiga hardware probably very much better than I do, but we chose this platform because it's close to heart. That's it. Yeah, Amiga is, well, I'll keep this on a basic level because we are trying to find new people who are interested in Amiga programming and who have not studied it that much, because these are the people who might get interested in this. So Amiga has DMA, direct memory access, and this provides the possibility to have these co-op processors, and these are mainly Copper and Blitter. The actual chips have their different names. And of course, the audio chip, Paula, is an 8-bit 4-channel audio chip. There are different versions of the Amiga chipset, but we have to concentrate on the OCS, because in the showdown concept, AGA gets a little bit too complicated, and I think it's a nice little restriction to have only 512K again. A little bit something that was already described. We had to take the Topaz 8 font for this. Just to give the impression that, okay, this is really Amiga stuff. What the Copper Showdown Editor does, it's simply printing words in the chip memory. That's probably the shortest technical description. But to print these words, we use the Lua scripting. And this data can be basically anything. So in some point, we face the fact that we need a project file somehow to manage with the data assets and the actual code. So these things have taken a few steps ahead. We support PNG, and well, the audio needs to be prepared for the Amiga purposes, of course. Now, let's ask a question. I know you love this. Can Amiga read user input without CPU? Because I'm stating that it can't, but what if it can? Well, what if it could? I don't know how it could do that, because the user input on Amiga will trigger an interrupt. And these interrupts, CPU interrupts, are out of our scope. So Copper Showdown is not for interactive projects. It's more for demos. And like stated, there is a little runtime which prepares the machine. And of course, we have this ADF export built in this, which means that there needs to be a little bit of CPU which starts the whole thing. But basically, it's the once it's done, I'm not even sure is it in a busy loop or where does it go. I have to ask more about that. Now this is the quite interesting thing. At the deadline party, there was this wonderful demo from Desire. And it was somewhat built against the emulators. And I've faced, on my own projects, I've faced a similar situation that everything goes pretty well and smooth on the emulator. And I have to take the USB stick and exit to ADF program. I use that, and then trigger the production. But this takes easily, and it's in a different room, so then I have to walk back and forth and think of that. So this is the tricky thing, because obviously the best solution would be to have a network card on your Amiga 500 and transmit the data via that. But there is, of course, advantages of these emulators, because the turnover time is so fast that it actually makes this showdown kind of approach possible. Because, like I said, if there would be a long hassle with the data to be transmitted somewhere, then it would slow down and would change the nature of the coding. The improvisation would be different. And of course, the emulators, because this vAmiga seems to run pretty well also on online, we can take this approach towards the online Copper Showdown toy or something like that. In a nutshell, well, Copper is 16-bit processor, but it always reads 2 words, and each word is, of course, 16-bit. And the programs for the Copper are called Copper lists, and for many of us retro people, this concept of scanline is so obvious that we are pretty bad in explaining what it is. But it's the electronic beam. Somebody has to draw the screen 50 times per second, or 60 in the NTSC land, and this is the way how the frames are being provided. Copper cannot write into the chip memory, so it's the bigger the memory, it can't write there. It only controls the custom chipset hardware registers, where everything is done, where everything is changed, and so it's kind of a controller chip. The wonderful thing that the Jay Miner and his team back in the day decided to do was to add only 3 commands to it, to this mighty chip. And these are move, wait, and skip. And the least significant bits of these 2 words define which command is on. I'll explain that better later. The main thing and the point of having such a Copper chip is, of course, that it can use the blitter chip, which can then change the Copper lists. And this gives this possibility to do basically nearly anything what's in Amiga. Here are the copper commands explained a little bit more clearly. So I've put a bold on the bits which matter according to the command. So if the first word has 0 bits as last bit, then it's always a move command, and then it doesn't matter what's on the second word, because it needs to have all the data range and so. If the first word has 1 on the first bit 0, then we are talking about the wait command. There are mask bits on the right side, but we can figure these later on. And the skip command is interesting because it makes possible to jump over the next copper command. And usually this next copper command is a trigger for a jump somewhere. So if you first load the possible jump address, then do the skip command, and then trigger the jump, then the possibility is that the skip command does not execute the jump, or then it does it. So this gives a little chance of comparison, but the possibilities what you can compare with this skip command are quite limited. It's only the location of the raster beam, or then if the blitter is busy. You can basically build up a system that queues all kind of blitz, and Copper chip will go and check out whether the blitter is ready, and then jumps to another list and executes the next blitz. And I don't know how complicated I want to do this. Okay, let's go. But yeah, without DMA, this is it's a different thing. Copper Showdown uses only 512K of memory. Usually the Amigas have the other half of this so-called fast memory, but it's not that fast. It's actually slow. Yes, precisely. And how to access the memory, because the 16 bits are not enough to access 512K. We have to have high word pointer and low word of the pointer. However, for the Amiga 500, only the 3 bits of the high word are effective, because we simply don't need more than that. And there's pointers for everything. Once you start doing these Copper Showdown things, you just have to put pointers here and there. And one smart thingy would be to take absolute addresses, so that you don't have to update the high word each time, because just to make sure that it's safe. So if you reserve a 64K page, and then stay inside that page, then it's possible that you change only the low word of the addresses. Yeah, like said, Copper has 2 location registers, and it can trigger the jump function, strobe, to either of these. And this is the this gives the possibility for basic go-to, and oh yes, we had to think of some new name for a command. This was hard, because in Lua, go-to is a reserved word. So we chose goat. Here's yet another way to describe the hardware registers, how they usually have high and low pointers. And there you can see that there's always these bit amounts of the significant bits there. Amiga uses Bitplanes and very much so. I'm not going to talk about Ham7. This is out of. I've heard there's Ham7. Is there? We are talking the basic things. So the Bitplanes, and normally in many computers there's chunky mode, which is very useful because you can, put the dots, pixels on just with basically a couple of assembler commands. With Bitplanes, it's different because you have to take the first bit, put it on the first plane, take the second bit, put it on the second plane, take the third bit and put it on the third one. Depends how many you have. There's quite a process for that. But Bitplanes have their strength also. For example, we can save memory because if we only need 4 colors, for example, it's doable with two Bitplanes only, and this saves memory. Amiga uses 12-bit palette, the familiar number 4096, and Amiga has also the scrolling registers. Hardware scrolling is possible because you define the bitplane pointers somewhere in the memory, and this would give only the 16-bit scrolling on the X direction. So obviously they wanted the smooth scrolling, so there's scroll registers for both play fields, and Amiga supports 2 play fields. This is rather advanced topic, I guess, but it's possible, and you've seen it in many demos and such. Of course, we could also talk about how much DMA time will be used. If you put a really heavy display mode on your Amiga, its CPU goes slower, blitter goes slower, everything goes slower. And in some point, well, I have imaginary friends, okay? Biffy and Buffy. And these are the 2 sprites that disappear if you put a very, very heavy screen on. So the 7th and the 6th, well, it's actually the 8th and the 6th, 8th and the 7th sprite are used for something else, and this means that if you're doing a sprite-based effect, make sure that there's enough DMA time for this. Here's another explanation of how the Bitplanes work. You can, there's the palette with numbers and some kind of a shades of gray, and the number you can add up things because the first bitplane is +1, second bitplane is +2, and the third is +4. Fourth bitplane would be +8, and so forth. And this indicates the color register that is in question. Then we are coming to the other mighty chip, Blitter. It has extra features. The line and fill are not covered here. It's a little bit more complicated. And actually the Blitter goes to a different mode if you trigger them. So we are focusing here only to the basic data movement and the logical operations that it can do to combine 3 sources of data. And it's also operating in 16 bits. It has this modulo so that you can define, like, let's take 10 words and then skip another 10. And this gives you possibility to manipulate different kind of data sequences. You can also, well, the maximum values are something like 1024. I think that's the maximum height, for example. And if we go a little bit back to the Bitplanes, there's basically 2 different ways to define the plane pointers. You can put them in the interleaved mode or then use them separately. On this example, these are all separate. But you could also do it so that the first bit plane and the first row comes first. Then comes the first row of the second bit plane, and then is the third one. By doing this, you might manage to manipulate the whole picture or change it with the blitter with just single blitz, and it's more blitz you need, slower it gets, because there's always a little waiting time in between and so forth. So there's interleaved mode and the plane mode on the, and we are heavily using the interleaved mode on this because it's more convenient in many cases. So a good question: does Amiga have a hardware-based bob or sprite flipping functions? And not really. It would get pretty tricky. You could make a lookout table from the words. Each word would have a lookout table, and that would flip it. But then you would have to make single word blitz, which is not, it's not very efficient. And flipping on the upside down, this is nearly possible, because you could blit all the bit planes separately, and this would give the upside down flip. It would be possible. Are you quite ready? Hey, yeah, miracles happen. I'm also ready. Yeah, hey. We have a GitHub and Discord channels, and you're most welcome there. And now we change into what Mob2 did meanwhile.
Yeah.
Oh. Live coded! Well done! We would surely, it would have been great to show it in sequences so that we would have had maybe two screens or something, but yeah. here's the ready result.
Yeah, and I actually cheated because the revision logo is, I mean, there's a ready-made shader, just copy-paste, convert it to Lua, and that's it. But you get the principle. So, I can go quickly through the code because yes. we still have lots of time left. So as you can see, I'm doing evil things, namely just using all the chip memory. So there's not much left. So this is what Copper Showdown is about. It's a memory battle. So because you can save memory, but it gets really tricky then. So I mean, we want to have these showdowns. And I mean, I'm not a good Amiga coder, so maybe real Amiga coders would do like self-modifying code and stuff like this. Yeah, so this is the simple thing. Namely, we have a number of frames defined in the beginning. So, and then the Copper works in a way that at the end of the vertical blank, it looks into this Copper location register, and whatever is in there is being used for the next frame. So this is how you concatenate. So basically, we are concatenating frame infos, together. So that's how you can make. The other possibility is to use the blitter and roll over the stuff, but then it gets really, really complicated. So this is the simple thing, and I'm a simple guy. Then there are a few helper variables, namely where the bars should start, where the bar area should end. So this is the full screen that we can see here. actually what you can see here is, this is the full Amiga viewport. And so this is a lot larger than even the largest overscan area. Where you can see the dots, that's where the standard Amiga monitor would render an image. So, and obviously there's a bit of overscan, but this is the raw Amiga representation of the of what the Amiga would be showing. And so that's just the site information. Then a few helper variables like where are the bars, which are the offsets, and blah blah blah. Here we are connecting the initial list with a so-called setup list. That's just a thing I made up and I use in all the things I do. Somebody else might do it in another way, I don't know. Then we are setting magic Amiga stuff, namely display properties and some information how many bit planes are going in. Namely, we have just one bit plane, so either it's 0 or it's white, except when the copper is doing stuff. Namely, the copper is always changing the background color. So that's the magic of copper. So you only need one bit plane, or you don't even need bit planes at all, and just can influence the background color and generate fancy effects. Like you probably all have seen of some of the copper demos where these blocky channels are happening. Like when you write to a color, you always have these 8 pixel wide blocks. That's if you see 8 pixels, then it's most likely the copper in an Amiga demo. So I mean, this is not a full-blown Amiga tutorial. I'm just going to show you what is happening here. Then a few functions like where are my bars? It's using the Xenos and the offset that is defined in the bar. And then in the end, some VPOS is coming out. And then there is this magic variable, Amiga sucks. Because the Amiga is, the problem is that you have, well, maybe we can even comment it out.
We're proud to present a new, it's not really a new concept, but new word.
You see?
It's this Amiga sucks area.
Yeah, that's the Amiga sucks area.
And that's because the 1 byte cannot represent 311 scan lines. So then there's extra area, and this is you get used to it, but yeah.
So you basically need to wait for the end of the line somewhere here. So the 255th line at the end, and then you start from scratch. But if you don't wait at the end, then stuff like this happens. You see the flickering over there. Because the copper thinks, I'm above that line, and then just, the instructions, I'm doing things you don't want. So that's the Amiga sucks area. That's a trademark of us, I would say.
Yeah, invented yesterday, I guess.
Yeah. So then. This is also a funny thing to show, especially for people who have no idea of the Amiga. Oh, so interesting stuff is happening. It's actually a better effect than before. So what is happening here?
Now we're entering the realm of glitch.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to produce a glitch effect with the Amiga because there is a register to do shifting for the bit planes, and what we are seeing here is the Amiga just scrolling through all the chip memory because every frame you have to set the bit plane pointer. If you're not doing this, then it just adds more and more stuff to it, and just scrolls to the whole Amiga memory, and it's a nice effect, I would say. But let's return to the working version. So this is now currently taking quite some time, but this is not because of Copper Showdown, but because of Lua, it's rather slow because I mean I'm pre-generating frames and then for every pixel checking if it's a hit on the logo or not. I'm not going completely into the details here. It's basically like, okay, wait, when is my bar about to show? Then wait until the scan line, set the color, wait for the end of the bar, and then set the background color, and then again wait for the next bar. So that's it. And yeah, and then this is just copy pasted from more or less from Shader Toy because I'm a lazy person.
Individual. Yes.
Individual, yeah, individual. Yeah, and then yeah, what's also interesting to see is how we there are all these pointers that greippi pointed out. So the blitter has some pointers, the Bitplanes are pointers, and whatnot. And what we have is some tiny labeling system. This is what we are. So we have a label for every screen in every frame, and what we're doing here in the pointers, we can address the high word and the low word of it. So that's something we invented and are using, and I think it's quite okay. You can even do some simple arithmetic over there. So you can say like 3 + 4 bytes or something like this. And yeah, what else to report? Yeah, okay. This is also interesting. So what resolve is doing is basically just resolving the labels. You could just return a plain Lua table there because it's just the memory. So resolve, the only thing resolve is doing, it goes through everything you defined and resolves any labels if present, and then returns the resulting memory. And the second return argument, with that you can enable more DMA channels. So in here we just have the Bitplanes and the raster, so the raster. In many examples, we probably would also use the blitter, for example. So yeah, I can show a few more examples, or should we switch to questions? Or do you have anything?
I think one of the questions would be the nearly existing API, because we did some helper routines, but we have not decided what is useful and what is just complicating things. And this is where we would need some user ideas and influence, maybe tests even. The ADF export, that might be
yeah, so we have an ADF export, which allows you to, I think the Amiga demo deadline is tomorrow 12, which allows you to export whatever you did here to just export as an ADF, and then you can upload it as an Amiga demo.
Yes, and we have entry blessing service enabled by the evening after few.
Yeah. So once we are drunk in the evening, we can bless your demo. We will do some dancing. So yeah, I can just show a few more examples. One. Yeah, no, because I'm not sure if we are allowed to actually show the mod player. Yeah. Oh, there's one simple example with sound that we can show, but sound is right now not connected. Let me try to find it. So this is how you could do sound. I mean, it's not much, but also it's very simple in Amiga to just push a sample in there. It's like five lines of code. You can, and somebody did this for the upcoming Amiga demo. You can just import a raw sample and then just push it to Paula and then play it. And Paula will automatically play it in loops. So, but this is glitchy, funny stuff.
Yeah, which we appreciate. It's interesting.
So I want to show one more example. and I want to get rid of the sound. Example. So this is an example. As you can see, it also uses quite a lot of chip memory. Yeah, this is something which was programmed using the old API, and this is using the blitter line mode. So blitter can not just simply copy memory, and here you can see what I meant earlier, namely this is how you enable the additional DMAs that you need. And I think?
Yes, I think we are we ready? Questions, please, yes.
So there is no part of the Lua code run at runtime, right? So all this does is export pre-rendered memory frames, and they're just replayed with a minimum of 68K code, probably.
Exactly. No Lua runtime. It's all just before everything else.
So after your GERP seminar earlier this year, I've been thinking about what I would want from an Amiga live coding system like this, what kind of features I would want. And there's one very clear first place for me at least, and that would be to do it on a real Amiga. Feeling the real Amiga keyboard beneath my fingers, like in the Copper Showdown competitions. So what potential do you see for doing something like this on a real Amiga?
There is potential, I would say, but it's currently not on the list. I mean, I think so far we would be concentrating on the emulator, unless many people show up and say, like, I want exactly this, and then we might rethink. But right now, I think we are focusing on the emulator.
Well, my own enthusiasm goes to the same direction. It would be great, actually, to have only Amiga, which would do the showdown. But this needs a lot of discussion and.
Yeah, and one reason why it's like this is to eventually get some new people in, which don't have an Amiga and might buy one in the future.
Have you thought about an option to connect a real Amiga just for the effect parts? With serial port, for example? Then you have the best of both worlds, I guess.
This would be wonderful also. I think we put this on the to-do list in some point.
Yeah, it's
the real Amiga is real Amiga. That's, there's vast difference, and this is what I wanted to warn with some of those slides which have the danger of emulators.
Yeah, that's
still there.
That's also in my mind, but there's so much to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. We need help for that.
Are there any plans to cater for some streaming sound input? Maybe you could have one variable and you can use that for some color animation then?
Yeah, we actually had the discussion yesterday. Yeah, I think the loud, annoying German guy was the one requesting this. Yes and no. So what I personally really like is that you can press export ADF, and then it's exactly what you programmed there, and you could put it on the Amiga. Like the streaming side channel would obviously be something completely different, but it would be super cool, obviously, for a showdown. So maybe we would include some special showdown mode, which goes, yeah, which might have this side channel. Then the ADF export is obviously useless, or yeah, doesn't work like it currently does. But yeah, maybe we do it.
Another question, more request. Can you show the Discord QR code again?
be on the different machines. So,
So you can't.
Switch back, yeah.
If it's not possible, it's okay.
I think we managed to unplug a cable and plug it in again.
So there is actually a Raspberry Pi based hardware device that you put in the trapdoor of the Amiga 500, and then it actually appears as 512K of chip memory. So, but you can use the Pi to actually access this and modify this memory directly. So maybe this would work for this to actually run it on an Amiga.
Yeah, need to think about it. I didn't know that something like this existed, but yeah. But as I said, there's so much to do. I mean, it's not even, I didn't even manage to replace this active copper list stuff by chip memory map or whatever. So yeah, there's much to do. It's completely open source, by the way. So this completely contains all the source code. Also, what is happening under the hood is like there's a super small bootloader that just replaces all the chip memory, and that's also how the ADF export works. And yeah, so this is in a separate project. So if somebody wants to check that, so my assembly skills, for example, are super limited. So the ADF export is right now Amiga 500 only, because I just push into the slow mem and yeah, somebody with assembly skills might be able to just make it compatible so that it also works on other Amigas and not just Amiga 500.
Also, we have not tested, so many of you have Amiga 1200, for example. We have not thoroughly tested that part yet, because it would be silly if these things wouldn't work.
Sorry if this is a silly question, but the result is just one single copper list. It's not multiple copper lists that you're pushing. It's just one single copper list that you initiate once, and then it goes on and on and on.
There's a lot of options for that. You can use one or then hundreds, and with the blitter you can also alter them, make switches where the jump goes differently, and there's a lot of options.
So it's just plain memory. You decide what to put in there. So in there, like every frame was one copper list. In this example, what I
think we are quite ready now. Okay. Hey, so much thank you. Please.